All right, in today's video, we sit down with Whitney Hruza from One Shot Charlie's down in Harrison, Idaho. She's going to tell us how Airbnbs nearly ruined her town and what she plans to do to save it. Let's go. Hey, welcome to the North Idaho Experience, a podcast for the people of North Idaho and those who are North Idaho curious. The stories, the businesses that we bring on here, they have a common theme, and that is they all have ties to North Idaho, and North Idaho is their home. And if you are thinking about making North Idaho your home, give our real estate team a call. And let's get that conversation started. See what I did there?
And then come down to One Shot Charlie's.
One Shot Charlie's. So, hey, Whitney Hruza. I got it right. Welcome to the show. She owns One Shot Charlie's in the small and beautiful town of Harrison, Idaho. And we're going to talk about some big things going on in Harrison. I mean, are you like the queen of Harrison?
No. I'm the hag of Harrison.
Well, let's get started on this because, like always, I walk in the very start of the podcast. I've never met you. I ask him before we come on. I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah, I like to
Whitney,
surprise him.
Who are you? Tell me a little bit about you. You live down in Harrison. You own One Shot Charlie's. Let's go.
Deep breath. And if I start talking too fast, just say deep breath and calm down.
Okay,
Born and raised in Southern Idaho, raising the fifth generation Idahoans up here in North Idaho. My husband's also from he is from North Idaho, from Southern Idaho. Was from a small town, Twin Falls, Kimberly area. Great grandparents had grocery stores down there.
Okay.
And then we moved to Boise. My mom got cancer when I was little, so we had to move to Boise because that's where the best treatments were. Graduated from Centennial High School, played softball my whole entire life. Softball brought me up here to North Idaho, where I played softball at North Idaho College. And I'd be here, some boy would break my heart, so I'd run home to Boise. And then I'd be like, I don't want to raise my family in Boise. I want to go, well, there's a lot more stories on that. But then, so I had a boss that fired me, that told me that I was one of the best GMs he'd ever seen, but I would never be happy until I owned my own place. He told me that after, like months after I was see, I can go on stories for days. So, and I talk with my hands. So, ended up coming up here and wanting to start my family here and kind of figure it out here, and bought a bar here in North Idaho with the help of Marshall Treasure that did Black Rock. I mean, these stories for days. But so had a bar here. That didn't work out. And then went down to Harrison, bought One Shot Charlie's, and I've been there for 13 years.
So you've lived in Harrison for 13 years.
I've lived in Harrison for 13 years. Okay. I came up to North Idaho the first time in 97. Well, we played state up here, and we took the state championship from Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, dang.
Lake City.
All
Dang.
right.
Shots fired.
Do you know how we met? Because
Not playing softball, because I've seen you throw.
No,
I guarantee you she throws better
my
than you.
kids can throw farther than me. That's true. I can throw a pretty good punch, though. Different story. But so I did a video about Harrison, and I think you emailed me, and was like, yo, why didn't you talk about One Shot Charlie's? And I was like, well, it's a bar. Like I didn't even think to come in and eat there. Otherwise I would have. And then we got together and had coffee and talked it all through. But so that's how we met.
Well, and one other thing, right? So in what I'm trying to do with Harrison, your video was the first one that popped up. And so I didn't know of you guys and what you guys were doing until I was trying to send a video about Harrison to a friend of mine in Vegas, and then also to a podcast that I listened to, and ask him for help for some different, like getting people to Harrison to help me for the season. And then, so I saw yours.
I'm honored. We came up first.
Yes, you came up very first. And then once I saw it, then I jumped on to see who you were and why you were in Harrison, not talking about One Shot Charlie's.
Yeah, big mistake.
Then I reached out to you and said, hey, because there was a conversation. Who did you have the conversation with from the Den that was going to come up here and do the movie studio stuff?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No,
What's
it's right.
his name?
It's blanking. Is it Matt Edwards?
Nope.
No.
Because then I Googled him. Anyways,
Dang,
you'll think of it.
I
You'll think of it because I put you on the spot. Anyway, so then I saw that podcast.
Mark Kuda.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then I watched
Mark?
that one, and then Mark said, if you're in North Idaho and you don't like what I'm doing because I'm here to take over your town, I'm going to turn it into a production studio. And he said, shut up or do something. I was like, Seth, I want to do something. Let's talk. So then that's why I reached out to Seth, is because I saw that one, and then, Mark Kuda came on and said, I'm here to take over North Idaho. And I was like, wait a minute.
He said it in a really nice way, though.
He did. Yeah, absolutely, he did. And it made sense. 100% it resonated, right? He said, this is what I'm going to do. And if you guys don't like it, get up off your couch, stop being Facebook warriors, and do something about it.
That's accurate. Yeah.
There's a lot of Facebook warriors. We deal with it all the time. Let me ask you this. Let's get to Harrison real quick. A lot of people that come up here don't necessarily make their way down to Harrison, right? Smaller town.
100%.
How many people live in Harrison?
What does the sign say? For legal purposes, so we can keep our township?
What does it say? Is it pretty small?
231.
Okay. Small little spot. Now, obviously, this is also right where the Coeur d'Alene River kind of comes into to Lake Coeur d'Alene. I've been down there. A lot of cool chain lakes going up there, and we always stop in Harrison. I have actually some good experiences on a boat going down to Harrison.
What about one-shots?
I didn't know about one-shots. That's why this is a cool thing. So, and one of the reasons, and I talked to you about this before we got on here, we're very into small business, right?
Yep.
Small business is what makes a community healthy. People talk about, they always want they want the Walmarts and the Costcos and they order off of Amazon. But the truth is that money, I talk about this all the time, it leaves the community. With our brokerage recently, people asked me, I just got interviewed by KXLY, and they asked me, why are you guys doing a brokerage? I said, hey, Keller Williams, Coldwell, all these places are international brokerages, right? So every dime that comes in, there's some that leaves the community to go, because that's not their focus, is North Idaho.
We are going to be friends.
And for us, it doesn't matter whether you look at, hey, the brokerage is making money or the agents are making money. Ultimately, the money stays here in this community, which is what creates a healthy community. So places like One Shot Charlie's, this is the backbone to creating a good community. When people talk about, oh man, things have changed and it's not that nice anymore, and we have issues with the roads and people aren't that nice and nobody's friendly, it's because those are the businesses that are not thriving. So it's very important to me that people know about something like this, because when you're cruising down to Harrison, it's not just about grabbing gas and ice cream, it's about checking out local places like that. And I think that's important.
Good transition, Dave, because here we go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Harrison is in trouble. And so that's why I'm here, is because when Mark said, do something, I'm like, okay, well, so I'm at this goofy spot. So my brother and I moved down to Harrison together. I moved down there with my husband. Obviously, my brother was my business partner. He came down there with me, and we've built One Shots. I've been in the restaurant business my whole entire life, and it was just dumb luck, right? I mean, I'm going to try and stay on topic as much as possible. But so I had come to Coeur d'Alene, and like I told you, so the last place that I worked down in Boise was called The Reef. Chad Johnson. He was my the last guy that I worked for. And great mentor. I sit on a board now with him and a guy named Dave Crick, who asked me to sit on this board because of how loud an opinion I am. But
I haven't noticed.
So, no, what am I? Anyways, so came up to Coeur d'Alene, and what I noticed is I had just been in downtown Boise working for two of the best restaurateurs down in Boise. And no offense to people that are down there, but those are the ones I know well. So Dave Crick started the local food movement, started the farmers movement down in Boise. And then Chad Johnson, he worked for Food Service of America, which is a distributor for food companies, and he was the vice president of procurement. So I had also worked for Red Lobster. I'd worked for Brinker, which is Chili's. I actually worked up here at Red Lobster forever. I opened the Chili's that was up here. So I had corporate and mom and pop's experience. So when I got up here, I was planning on getting out of the restaurant business, and just dumb luck, lots of stories. Marshall Treasuron would sit at the bar because I worked at Cedars, and he would come in, and there was just conversations that were had because I like to talk. And he said I was going to get out of the restaurant bar business because it was too hard. Like, I was in my late 20s. I couldn't find anyone that would marry me because I was at the bar. Well, I wasn't at the bar. I was working, right? It was a restaurant bar.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I was working. It was afterwards I wasn't. But so it was just really hard, like, to be a young woman in Southern Idaho to try and find, that kind of a lifestyle. So anyways, came up here, Marshall, got to know him, and he said one of the worst mistakes I ever did was come into real estate. Like, I made all my money in cars, and I had all these people like, oh, you have so much money, you know what you're doing, come do real estate. He told me, he's like, I lost my ass on real estate. And if I would have stayed in the car business, I would have been just fine. He's like, you need to stay in the restaurant business. You already have, I think at that time, 12 or 13 years. He's like, figure out how to do this. So when I came back up to North Idaho, I had all this experience. And every single restaurateur that I knew or that I saw immediately were people that had bought it and had never worked their way up through the industry, right? So they were the investor that said, hey, restaurant and bars are easy. They're not. They're so tough. So anyways, I get back into it, head down to Harrison, and dumb luck, I didn't know anything about Harrison. I was dating my husband. We couldn't go out anywhere because I knew everybody because the industry I was in. So we go down to Harrison, and when we're leaving the next morning, the local motel owner said, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I own a restaurant bar. Actually, I'm just selling it right now. There's some stuff going on there. He's like, well, we have one for sale. Marshall had already asked me to look at that one. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not moving to Harrison, Idaho. If I move to Harrison, Idaho, I'm going to die with 75 cats as an old spinster. And you're right, like, that's not the goal. That's not the goal. So, fast forward, 2 years, and this One Shot Charlie's comes back up again. And at that point where we're at in our lives, my husband was working down in St. Mary's. So like, yeah, let's give it a shot. I don't even know. So, and we end up down in Harrison.
Yeah.
And we go down there, and my brother has to come because I'm 9 months pregnant pretty much when we buy One Shots.
And what year was this? You bought One Shots?
2012.
2012. Okay.
2012.
So you're over a decade.
Yeah.
You own this place. Okay.
Yeah. So go down to Harrison, and we just know that we have to make this place work. Didn't know anything about the town. Got really lucky. We did not know anything about the town. Talked to the owners. They carried us on their on the contract because we went down there with $1,500 each. So we went down there with, well, it doesn't matter. So $1,325 each.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And the owners carried us on the contract and let us run One Shots until we could afford to buy it from them. And they carried the contract because they knew coming to a small town like that, we would not be able to get a bank loan, right? Because Harrison is so seasonal. Again, didn't know it. So it was kind of a blessing and a curse. So we just put our heads down and we worked our butts off. My brother slept in the back of the building. He would come shower at the hotel room because we moved down into a hotel because there wasn't a place to rent. There wasn't a place.
Oh, wow.
Right? So my baby came home to a hotel room, and we lived there for, I can't even remember, 4 or 5 months until we could find a place to rent. My brother slept in the back of the building on a pull-out couch until he started knocking on doors, and people that were selling their houses, he would ask them, hey, will you rent me your house until you sell it? And then when he found somebody, yes, he said, okay, now, hey, will you actually carry me on a contract and let me buy the home? And, so Harrison, 13 years later, we both have property. We own the building. Like, we've had some amazing opportunities. And what's happening now is since 2020, it's changed everything, right?
So before we get there, talk to me about this. No, that's fine. I because it's really important because, somebody might listen to this and think, oh man, she's just trying to save her business. It's not. It's really the fabric of of North Idaho, right?
Correct.
So talk to me about this. You guys have obviously ran this for over a decade, so it's been successful enough, right? You guys have had high times. What's the peak? Give me the year of what's the
2019.
peak? 2019. Why is that? What was going on in 2019?
We were open 7 days a week.
Okay.
And we were rocking and rolling. We'd figured it out.
All winter as well?
So when we got down to Harrison, we were open 7 days a week all year round.
Okay.
So my brother and I were the only 2 employees at first. I'd be cooking in the kitchen, he'd be bartending. And then we'd tag off. Like, I'd had my baby in the front pack and be like, here, lady, can you hold my baby? I'm getting busy. And
no way.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's 100% the story. So Susanna and Shelly would hold my daughter Tanya and be like, here, can you hold her? I'm going to go flip some eggs and, make some biscuits and gravy. So at the peak, it was 2019. It's the most sales we've ever had. We bought the building. So we went down there in 2012, bought the building in 2017. And then 2019 was our biggest year. We had opened a second restaurant upstairs. We had opened a coffee shop that the previous owner had also had because the town needed a coffee shop. The town needed a breakfast place. And we were trying to do it all out of One Shots, and you just couldn't. 2019 was our biggest year. We were open 7 days a week, and we were just humming. We'd had that second location upstairs open. So then hits, right? Can I now go here?
Yeah, and be careful saying we usually have to say the C word or something because they have a tendency. We have to scrub that word.
Still?
YouTube will actually, they will either shadow ban or do little things with us. So we always have Bob take care of it.
When you say the C word, I'm a female. Like, can we go a different one?
Oh, there's times I've used that too. I can, yes.
Let's just say
I can apply that in certain situations.
Okay, I didn't know that.
It's crazy. I know.
Yeah,
we don't want to
we've been
spread
spanked
misinformation
before
here.
Okay.
Unreal.
So some things happened in 2020. And Idaho was wide open, right?
Yeah.
I saw IDs from every single state. And
Oh,
so randomly, my brother was the mayor of Harrison. Oh, so many stories. My brother was the mayor of Harrison. So he had asked everybody.
Legitimately the mayor.
Yeah, literally.
Okay.
The mayor.
Right on.
That's hilarious.
If you want to come down, you could be too.
Let's go.
I also, so all my connections from Southern Idaho, I knew it was coming. My sister has a restaurant in Southern Idaho. I knew the shutdowns were coming, so we kind of prepared for it. I had reached out to a couple of my representatives and said, hey, what am I supposed to do? Like, it was scary, right? Like, everything was brand new. Looking back, it's a lot easier. But so my brother asked the locals, like, hey, what do you want us to do? Like, because we have a ton of elderly people in our community, and they said, you need to operate your business. You need to make money. We're going to be okay. We opened the doors and said, let's go. Obviously followed all the rules, pulled tables, did that. But none of my...
Thank you for keeping everybody safe.
You're welcome.
Did you have those little dots on the floor on the line
Did
so
you
that
have
people didn't stand
plastic
too close
saran
together?
wrap hanging between the tables and stuff to keep us? Thank you.
I don't picture you doing that.
Here was the law, and we were right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was crazy. We were packed. It was
Good.
wall to wall. It was wall to wall. Nobody on my staff got sick. My brother got I can say he got
You got sick.
he got
He's
sick.
afraid to say.
He
He's like,
lost.
I want the podcast to go. I don't want it.
He lost his he had something that made him lose his sense of taste.
Yep.
So that besides him, I think he's the only one that got sick. And so we just operated, but what happened, right, is that right after that, everyone that came in was like, "Oh my gosh, Coeur d'Alene." And Coeur d'Alene was already taken off, but there's always going to be a little bit of stifling of stuff, But so you had so many people come in. There was so much craziness that happened right after that people like, we're leaving our states. We're coming to Idaho. It was fun. We loved it. Let's go. So Airbnbs. There was like this permanent or a perfect storm that came together in Harrison. You had Airbnbs, right? You had everyone leaving the states. And we had some people that moved in that then what they did is they came and like, you guys are all a bunch of redneck idiots that don't know what you have here in Harrison. And it's like, no, we're not. Harrison's super seasonal.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Like everyone thinks that when you have a business in Harrison, you just haven't figured out how to make it operate 12 months out of the year. You're holding it back so that it can operate 12 months out of the year.
When it's seasonal, it's the road from Coeur d'Alene, it sucks in the wintertime to come down that way, right?
Which one? There's 3 ways to get there.
They all suck. Do you get so wintertime? You're really dealing with locals,
Yeah.
And do you get some spillover from St. Mary's because that's pretty
Yeah.
close?
So St. Mary's, and then so that's the other thing that happened, right? You guys. So then right after, God dang it.
Bobble scrub it.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, so right after 2020, also, so there's 3 ways into Harrison. There's 97 that you were talking about that is super windy and that's hard. You're either going in the lake or you're going into the mountain. So, and then Highway 3, which is gorgeous, that takes you through the Chain Lakes up the Coeur d'Alene River, and that puts you on the other side of 4th of July Pass, come over on 90, and then you can go the really long way, which is down to St. Mary's, over to 5, up 95. But so yeah, no one's coming an hour and a half to get to Harrison for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
The roads do suck. And then also right after 2020, the road from St. Mary's to Harrison was redone. So have you driven that road enough to know that there's that long dike road?
No.
So when you're coming down Peterson Hill, there's a long road that goes by the St. Joe River. And that road was taken down, and you had to go like this back way by the mountain, and it could be an hour that you were waiting, or it could be 20 minutes you were waiting. So anybody that wanted to work in Harrison,
shut down a lot.
Anybody that wanted to work in Harrison also wasn't coming from St. Mary's because of the fact that, like, dude, it's going to be 2 hours extra that I might have to sit in my car. So that happened. People came in and started buying property in Harrison, and then everyone's like, this is a town that you invest in. This isn't a town you live in.
Man, that's a tough one. So I'm gonna touch on that real quick because
Let's go.
this is really, really hard, right? We do real estate for a living, and there's a lot of people that invest up here for Airbnbs and rentals, and that's fine. It's it's a double-edged sword
Yep.
because I truly believe in the American dream and I believe in capitalism. I believe in these things. The problem is there's such a distribution of wealth now in the U.S. that
It's probably his phone. It's
It's
always
mine.
going.
I was worried about. That's why I was like, I gotta turn it
here,
off.
I'll just toss mine on the floor. There we go.
Stomp it.
It's out of the way. There's such a distribution of wealth now that people have the ability to buy multiple houses and let them sit vacant. The problem is that homes were never intended to sit vacant, right? I tell this to people when they look at a house that's been vacant for a year and a half and there's all these issues. I'm like, hey, man, houses are meant to be lived in. Like, that's how houses stay up, everything else. But when you build a residence, the idea is that somebody's going to live there, right? And then when somebody lives there, they pay property taxes, which they still have to do if they don't. But they're also going to bring money to the community. They're going to shop locally. They're going to have to get their tires fixed here. They're
They're
going to
volunteer at the places that need volunteers.
Right. They're going to be a contributor to the tribe. The problem is that when you displace people that live there, that believe in the community, right? This is why you get a lot of people in Idaho that get mad in the summer when people come over and they throw trash on the ground or something. That's not how North Idaho is, right? And God bless them. When you're vacationing and you're having a good time, you don't necessarily have as much pride in the community as the people that live there year round. And so when these types of things happen, and now all of a sudden you've gone from 90% capacity of full-time residents to 60% or 50% capacity, well, you've just lost a base of people that contributed to that community, not just as workers, but people that buy things, even just the social environment, right? Changes drastically. So it's hard because I want people to be able to, if you can afford it, you go buy it, you do those things, but it has an impact. And you're seeing these Airbnbs have a massive negative impact in certain communities.
Well, and I'm 100% with you. Like, American dream, I'm living it, right?
Yeah.
I went down to Harrison with nothing. I have property. I have my business. I own the building that the bank does until we get 30-year mortgage or whatever. So I'm living the American dream, and that's why I'm here, is because I want to fight for the next generation to have the same opportunity that I had, and they're not going to.
No.
That's why I'm here, right?
Harrison has some challenges too.
Yeah.
We should touch on because you've got the town, and then you've got the outlying areas of Harrison, which include Gosser and Arrow Point, right? And you've got
In the tax bracket,
10,
yes.
$20 million homes up there that, and then you've got the town, which is very small and just working people or retired
That don't
people.
have some people that don't have two nickels to rub together, that are
Right.
just like paycheck to paycheck.
How
for
does
sure.
it affect the town having, Gosser Ranch right there?
So that affects anything that you try and do with government assistance, any kind of grants. The school's getting hit hard, and like that's another thing that no one's talking about, right? So these Airbnbs are taking homes that were able to be purchased by local people, and now they're sitting empty. So the school's even more empty. The school's the one that's hit the hardest. Like, there's things that I think everyone's going to be able to figure out, but the schools, that tax bracket is included in the Kootenai, because we have a school down there, and it's included in that. So that's one thing right now that, again, there's so many different problems that we have. So you've had a retirement community, and your retirement community is the one that volunteers and does a lot of stuff, but they're also like, hey, I've taken my turn, it's your turn. And I think this next generation forgot about their civic duty and some of the things that they're supposed to do. Everyone's getting involved in politics because it's like, what can I get out of it? How can I control things? And that's a problem that's happening in my community right now, is that people have moved into the area and they saw the game played in a bigger city. It's like, oh, what I need to do is I need to come in and I need to jump on city council. And that's what we've had, is we didn't have an Airbnb code. We didn't need it to the point, we need it now, but we needed a lot tighter and better one. In my opinion, when you don't know the rules, you play a little bit looser. When you know the rules, you either then know, hey, I'm going to be on this side of the rule, or I'm going to be on that side of the rule, right? So we didn't have one. So then everybody kind of kept their head down, and there wasn't a ton of them because nobody wanted to be the person that got in trouble. We didn't have a law, we didn't have a code, we didn't have anything. So there had always been one or two Airbnbs in Harrison, maybe 3 or 4, but there was never anything like that. And again, I've been there for 13 years.
Now, how many do you have?
We have 28 out of 78 homes that can vote in Harrison.
Wow, 1/3.
What?
And that code passed in 2022.
Are they pretty much vacant in the wintertime?
They're 100% vacant because there's nothing. Like, I moved to
Wow.
Harrison, and my hat was like, here, now you're the Chamber of Commerce. Here, now you're this. Here, now you're this. So my brother, he ended up getting married while we were in Harrison to an amazing gal who's also from North Idaho, and we all sat on the board. I have this problem where I tell people to do stuff.
Yeah, we come from a world where that's very common.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had to, right? So it was our turn. Like the people said, okay, hey, thanks for moving to the community. It's your turn. Here's your hat that you're wearing. Again, my brother. So my husband's been the president of the city council down there. My brother was the council. My brother's been the mayor. Like right now, people are talking about me that I need to run, but luckily I don't live in the city. However, there's just stuff, right? Because I forget how we get here, but there's just people are trying to come into the community and they're jumping into politics so that they can control it. But what they don't understand, that's not the issue. The issue is that we don't have consistent snow, so you can't plan like winter activities in Harrison. The lake doesn't always freeze over, so you can't plan ice sports. There's not always snow on the trail, so you can't plan like because the Trails of Coeur d'Alene goes through Harrison.
Right.
So you do. When I got there, the Trails of Coeur d'Alene had just been finished.
Right.
And people were furious. So Harrison was a mill town. Harrison had, I should know, 9, I can't remember if it was 7 or 9. I used to know my history really well, but I haven't talked about it so long. So I believe it was 9 mills. I have this amazing picture upstairs in my second restaurant. It's of a bank map of Harrison in 1905. The town is full. There's we were kind of a wharf community. Like everything was built on the water because ships came.
You know what was different then, though? And this is something that is really hard to get back to, is that people used to work back then, right? We've tried to become become so reliant on machines, and how do we go from 10 people down to 2 and doing the same amount of work that, it used to be everything was done by manpower, right? Talk about like building homes. Homes used to be built off of the bigger wood, the stronger the home. Now it's like, how do we engineer it and use the least amount of material? Yeah. It's the same thing, right? And that's not going to change. So real quick, going back to One Shot Charlie's, where are you guys at right now in terms of like, what are your hours of operation and how
this is a touchy subject.
I want to know, right?
No. Okay, so 2020, so we learned how to pivot. So we think we got it figured out after the road got back open. So we just went to 5 days a week because they're just in the wintertime. So when we bought the building, every single year that we were there, we had to take a loan.
Yeah.
So we'd make it through the summer, and then we'd have to take a loan to make it to the spring.
That is very stressful. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But part of it too is that we worked so that we would do tips, right? Like I was the server, like I was the owner and the server, and then because cooks are harder to find, I went back in the kitchen. I started cooking again.
Got it.
My brother was in the front. So we were open 7 days a week all year round. We kept growing it. The community were so excited because when we got there, Jim and Jan, who were just godsends, who carried us on the contract, they were at the same spot that I'm probably at now. They're tired. They've worked their butt off. They've thought of everything they could do, and it's just a really hard town and a really hard business to do, right? Restaurants are hard in general. Now go to a town that's small and that has all these other things going on with it. So when we bought the building, we okay, if we did a bigger kitchen, we could do more volume in the summer, and then we wouldn't have to. So we did that in 2017.
Okay.
So 2017, we bought the building. We took an additional tenant improvement money, and then we built out our kitchen to where now we can do more volume. But I can't get enough.
It's still only one person.
I can only get open 5 days a week.
Yeah.
There's not enough. There is business in Harrison coming out your ears if you want it all summer long. The problem that you have now is there's no staff. Nobody can afford to live there. In 2015, we were really smart. My brother was a builder. So we bought a house in Harrison that we turned into employee housing. So we can house 5 people in that one. And then I've talked the local lady who owns an apartment into renting me 3 bedrooms. I pay for that all year round, even when it's empty.
Wow.
So that comes summertime. And this year, So then now I have 3. So now I can bring 8 people that I can house, and I can control their rent and their job because they want to, right? But so that's what we've done. Like we've been very innovative. The problem that you have now is I have to decide: is it time to am I going to sell and then let somebody else try it? And I don't feel that's the reason. I feel like God put me in Harrison with this big personality, with a ton of drive to figure this out.
Right.
And so kind of also why I'm here, right, is I feel like people that want to, like when you guys are out selling houses, the people that I'm looking for to move to my community, sales pitch, is that I want people to come in that want to work again, that want to produce something, that want to, buy their acreage. I want to turn Harrison into a farm town, right? Like a farm community, like farm to table. There's so much money at BlackRock, and they love Harrison. They love coming to Harrison because you want to know what? When they come into One Shots, no one cares who they are. No one cares how much money they have. They get treated like anybody else. I have a story that I'm going to tell. I'm not going to give all the details because it'll give it away. So Gazer called me and said, hey, we have this guy that's coming in, and he wants to maybe rent out One Shots. I was like, I don't rent out One Shots. And because, right, like we want everyone to have the same experience. And so, and everyone else on the lake is catering to those guys. And they help me in so many different ways, and I love those guys. But
that's not a year-round investment either.
I'm going to treat you the same no matter what. So I get a phone call from Gazer. Hey, there's this big producer that wants to come in. And I was like, okay, told me who he was bringing with him. I'm like, oh, okay. And we're going to have him call you. I said, okay. So he called me and he said, hey, Whit. I'm like, hey. And, had this conversation. I said,
did he call you Whit or Whitney? It's pretty ballsy if he called you Whit.
I don't know.
Sounds cooler with Whit,
right,
though.
so
Like,
he called you.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I like it.
So then, he said, I want to bring my guys down. We're gonna get drunk. We're gonna treat your staff really well. We're gonna get rowdy. It's gonna be 5:00 and it's 20 people. And I said, well, they said I'm maybe supposed to treat you special. And I said, no, treat me like everybody else. I'm like, perfect. I don't take reservations. You can't get my staff drunk. No getting rowdy. And if you want to come in, we'd love to have you, but. I'm going to do my best to see you, but I not be able to.
That's freaking awesome.
Oh, but my heart broke the next day because he didn't come in. And I was like, oh, man. But that's what I felt like was right. But you know what? He came in a week and a half later, and he was passed around shots. And I think that's what people love about One Shots, right? Is I don't care how much money you have. I'm going to treat you the same no matter what.
They probably appreciate that. I think people in that world want to be normal.
Well, and that's why One Shots is, I think, like the place to be in. I have my bad days. Like, we are not perfect. Like, there's a lot of things. Like, I was doing this post the other day, and this guy said, hope your service is better than One Shots. And I'm like, well, since you're commenting on a One Shots post, probably
strange.
Sorry for the bad day. But so.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
What is the vision, and how do you get there? You have this vision.
You guys are going to bring
We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
You guys are going to screen people that want to move specifically. We need, okay, so my husband
what
has
do you need?
My husband has a butcher shop.
Okay.
So he needs somebody that wants to produce dog food. He's going to kill me.
Dog food. Ooh.
He's not ready for this yet.
Let's go.
But so the guy that we bought the butcher shop from, so we bought a butcher shop.
So you own the whole town, basically. Is it?
No.
Okay, no.
No.
All right.
I own more than I need and more than I want. But again, I have this problem of like, I feel like this need to keep it alive, right? So Fred Schuffelmeyer, amazing man, built a business, 30 years, butcher. His daughter, Linda, came up and moved back home, was going to take over his business, got into a really bad accident, didn't make it. I had known Fred really well. Linda I'd got to know really well, or I'd got to know. And kind of a hothead if you haven't told, but you've been able to tell. So saw him on the side of the road and said, Fred, BS, what happened? My husband and I will buy the shop, and instead of that guy getting it, we'll buy it. And he's like, Whitney, calm down. And so that was in June. And then the next spring, he reached back out to me and he said, hey, Whit, let's talk about that. And he did call me Whit. He said, let's talk about that butcher shop. I'm like, Fred, I didn't talk to my husband about this. Like, what? And so my husband was doing medical sales. I'm like, so babe, so I talked to Fred, and I kind of told him we'd buy the butcher. He's like, what? So goes on the road, comes back, talk to his friends. He's like, yeah, we're in. He'd grown up, hunting, and so he knew how to do all the stuff, but a butcher, never. So we bought the butcher shop. He's up trying to figure it out. But when Fred started it, there was somebody that would come and take all the hides. And then they would pay him for the hides. There would be somebody that would take all the bones and all the guts and all the stuff, but now my husband has to haul all of that, right? That job's no longer there. So there's jobs in Harrison. There's, this was the part that as I was driving up, I was struggling with whether I was going to say it or not. I'm the only business owner in town that's my main income. Everybody else has their investment, in Harrison. And so there's other businesses that if somebody said, hey, I'm going to come in and can I buy that business from you? The coffee shop, she has it for sale right now. I hope she's okay with me saying that. She's getting ready to start back up again. But they have they have it for sale. So does somebody want to come in? And again, instead of it being an investment, like that's your job. We need EMTs. We need people that are going to come and volunteer. We need EMT. I mean, we need everything. Like right now, we need everything. We need a breakfast place. The Landing is for sale. It's been called the Landing forever. I want the gal that owns Chompers to buy it. I've been trying to get to her. So if you own Chompers, I know you want to come down to Harrison, do a breakfast place. Michael
They
D.
got great food.
I've been harassing Michael D. Michael D. says he's retiring. Leave me alone, Whitney. But we need a breakfast place, and there's a place that's for sale right next to me that has an apartment upstairs. And so if you're a husband and wife combo, or a wife and wife, or a husband and husband, whatever you do these days or whatever, we need people that want to live in Harrison. We need, again, so that's another restaurant right there. And everyone wants to come and compete and do the same thing. Fine, go for it. But One Shots has 75 years of history. One Shots, people don't know why they're coming to One Shots. They're coming to One Shots because it's in their DNA. They've been raised out in the park. Like, they're just coming, so go for it. And I played softball, so I love competition. I'm better when people are coming for me.
Yeah.
Right? But so another restaurant, the coffee shop.
What's the appeal? Why should someone move to Harrison? I mean, what do you love about it? You've been there 13 years.
I have. So every time people move from even Coeur d'Alene to Harrison, it's just quiet.
Yeah.
Like, what's so nice, you guys, is that I get to think. Sometimes I think too much, but like you just.
This is what I tell Renee. I'm like, I just want to be somewhere where I can just think. I can just be quiet.
In these big cities, there's something constantly. What are we doing? Where are we going? What's going on? What's going on? I can think. Like during 2020, I had so much time to think and figure out what was going on because I was all by myself. I would drive 15 minutes from home and there was nobody on the road. So you weren't worried about like swerving and like defensive driving is a thing, but it's defensive driving against moose and elk. It's not against other cars coming at you, you know? When I go to Kellogg, there's nobody on the road, so you have time to think. It's Mayberry, right? It's the things that I think everybody's trying to get back to, and they don't know how to.
You know what? I think people come up here constantly. We had a lot of people leave after the and everything else. We had a lot of people that left and went back to California, back to Texas, back to other states. A lot of people want that, and the truth is that they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to deal with the quiet. They don't know how to be, oh, I'm super outdoorsy. Well, how outdoorsy are you, right?
You want to go get your firewood when it's raining and wind.
So
and
they realize how much work it is. And I the number one thing I've heard from people that move out of North Idaho after they've been here for 2 or 3 years, I go, why are you moving? And they said, well, there's just nothing to do. And I don't even argue with them. I'm like, yeah, you're right, man. All right, well, let's get you out of here. Because when you come to a place like Harrison, and even just North Idaho, there is a lot to do up here. But for people that cannot self-entertain, they can't hike, they can't sit on the porch and just listen.
They don't know who they are and talking to each other.
Yeah, they don't know the joy of actually going out and getting that firewood. He's starting a farm pretty much at his house. And, you know, it's also, I get jealous.
I've already got mine.
Yeah. Harrison, sell it and come out to Harrison. No one's representing this. Yeah, that's not true. Okay.
But, you know, people don't realize how much work that is. And, it's difficult. But it is a way of life. You know, when people say like, oh, I heard you say, oh, they started the farm to something down in Boise. What was it?
Farm to table.
Farm to table.
Yeah, farm to table. They started that? They didn't start. They restarted that. That's been the way things have been for thousands of years.
So feeding yourself.
Only recently we walked away from that.
You want families, you want kids, you want families, you want to make this town thrive again. And I think there's an opportunity because it's not just the town. If you're listening and you don't know anything about Harrison, there's lots of land available outside of Harrison. So if you're thinking like, I want to do a homestead or something like that, that could be a good option. And then now you have a place to sell
wedding venues,
their
event
food.
planners.
Right. There's a lot. It's a beautiful town.
And prices are way cheaper. People that want to come up to North Idaho and they're like, oh, and they realize a home is $600,000-$700,000. They don't necessarily find that everywhere down in Harrison.
Well, but the problem is that people are trying to price it
Right.
that. And then the people are coming in and they're like, they pay it because they don't realize North Idaho, right? There is a huge difference between Coeur d'Alene and Harrison.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the, like, even Gosser and Harrison, you're in the same zip code. So you Google map that, you're like, oh, zip code, I'm in Gosser. Okay, but when you get to Harrison, it's totally different.
Oh, yeah.
100% different. So when people are coming up, they're driving those prices higher because, right, I've now bought it high. I'm not going to sell it at a loss. So that's kind of what keeps happening is everybody keeps driving the prices high. I bought my first house in Harrison for $110,000.
Dang.
Right?
Wow.
Right? And that was in 2000 I guess we probably bought it in 2014 because we had been there for a little bit and rented for a little while. And now those houses, and so that's why I could afford to do everything I've done. So what's happened, right, is before you were out in the middle of nowhere. Everyone knows that it gets quiet. Like you have to be able to, like you said, self-entertain. Like you really, the biggest fight that my husband and I get into, besides how loud and obnoxious I am, is he's gonna love that. Do that, I don't know, just for him. Is how much work we have to do. And he's like, you don't realize how much stuff I have to do around this property. I'm like, this is your property. You wanted it. I'm just here to support your dream, babe.
Yeah.
I'm sure that goes over well.
But so, right, what happens is that before, when people would sell a house, they would call their kids and say, hey, we're going to sell our vacation home or we're going to sell our retirement home in Harrison. Do you want it? And they're like, I'm now in, wherever state. We're not going to get to Harrison. No, put it on the market. So what happens is that you're looking for somebody else that's going to retire. And then when they don't want to retire to Harrison, or now it's getting harder to get to Harrison and all these things, that price keeps dropping and dropping and dropping until somebody like me, who I'm like, hey, I can now afford that house. You don't have that anymore, right?
Yeah.
So now people like me can't afford to come in and buy that house. Teachers can't come into Harrison and buy a house. Like, I don't know what my school's going to do for teachers.
Right.
The prices around us, which, again, I really appreciate the fact that there's 20-acre parcels in Kootenai. And you guys are going to know the laws and the rules better than I do. I don't know why when sometimes you can go smaller, but it's generally no smaller than 20s unless there's special provisions.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know the zoning down there, but I mean, it could be 10s, it could be 5s. I don't know. I'd have to look.
20.
Is it?
They're special. I
That's
think,
cool.
Yeah. So, and I enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
Because once you start getting, your chickens, and then your pig, and then your cow, and then your horses or whatever.
Chickens are the gateway, man.
I know. Don't start.
Yeah.
Gateway drug.
They are.
So, but 20 is but so what teacher can come in and afford a
Right.
20?
No.
What teacher can come in now and afford a $500,000 house because you have a lake view?
Yeah.
So these people that are coming into Harrison and saying, oh, I don't want to change anything. I moved here because I love this town. And then the first thing they do is change the Airbnb code. The first thing they do is jump on council. The first thing they do is buy these businesses as investments. So another quick story. So we had to close for the first time, or we didn't have to. I chose to close. My brother leaving last year and my sister-in-law leaving, we were this tripod. One of the best blessings I've had is I think that I could see all the things that they did at one shots. I don't think that they understand what I did yet, but them being gone, I really appreciated how hard they worked and how each one of us had our specific role in what we did. So now I have to go in and try and find a new HR person because my sister-in-law was the HR person.
I got a guy.
She was the marketing person. She was
HR
the
for us.
office manager. She did she did all that. My brother has, like, you think my personality is big. Like, my brother is super fun, super outgoing, super charismatic, right? And I'm kind of the bean counter. Like, I'm the visionary. I'm the one that has the big vision. So now trying to replace all those people, it's hard. And so I thought, I've been in a restaurant since I was 15. I played softball, so I always had to work because I came from a big family. And so that allowed me. So I've been in a restaurant since I was 15. Like, to me, being in a restaurant is like breathing. I don't know how to explain to people how to do it. But now having people come in, so last year when my brother and sister-in-law left, I'm like, got this. It was the worst year ever.
Yeah,
We
that was
just
so
held
much.
on. And so then again, all the people that are moving into Idaho, 1120 was a liquor license law that passed that did nothing but just create more chaos. However, it did do a new thing where before in the state of Idaho, you were not allowed to close for more than 30 days without asking permission from the state of Idaho, from Alcohol Beverage Control Board, saying, hey, this is why I need to close. And then they get to tell you yes or no. And it had to be crazy circumstances on why they let you close. 1120, I was able to close for 180 days. I was able to regroup and be like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, can I do this without my brother? Can I do this without my sister-in-law? Am I as talented as I think I am? Like, you know, it's time to do it.
So you closed for half the year.
I closed for half the years. I closed at the end of September, and I just reopened on Thursday.
You're open.
I'm open.
Oh, cool.
We're still working out the details. So
Yeah.
like the dust, knocking it off and stuff like that. But so, I don't remember where I was trying to go.
We need to get down there and
I was
You
just
do.
thinking, like, no, I think
go take a video
yeah.
down there.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, yeah.
But so 11/20, I was able to close. We've regrouped, and so my biggest focus now is how do we rebuild Harrison? Because there is a community there. When I got there 13 years ago, people were so excited. Like I said, we had our busiest year pre-2020 because a community was coming.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the third place, right? If you don't have a restaurant to go in the summertime or in the wintertime,
Gotta have something.
You have to have something.
You need a coffee shop. You need a restaurant.
Okay, the coffee shop is owned by a gal, which I think she's fantastic. She's been there now for four years, I believe, and she's figured it out finally. She's like, at first, her and I butted heads, and now she's like, Whitney, and we talk and we text. But it's tough because that's her investment. That's not her job. That's not how she pays her bills. That's extra. That's savings. And I'm sure she pays some of her bills, but she's able to close all winter long because she doesn't have a liquor license. I do. The ice cream, that's her investment. That's not the way she makes money. So she closes. Another gentleman who I'm great buddies with, him and his partner bought the building down there. They've luckily brought in Mandy Knapp, who does a phenomenal job at the Driftwood Mercantile.
I know Mandy Knapp.
Oh, yeah. So Mandy Knapp has done this beautiful, it's called the Driftwood Mercantile. She's done a gorgeous job, and she kept it open all year round. The Hidden Gem, she's come in and she's opened a shop, you know. But again, I can't afford to be open all year round because I have food. Like all those people, right? An ice cream shop has a freezer. Like coffee, you don't have to make that. Like
It's
your
perishable. You got stuff that you got to get in there. Yeah.
So without those other anchor businesses, if I'm the only one open all winter long, which we had been, like since we moved down there, everything else is always closed. But what had happened is we were building the community, we were building the town. The coffee shop got bought and redone because you could feel this energy in Harrison. The creamery has been sold now twice since we've been there because you can feel this energy. The landing has been sold, I don't know how many times, like 7 times since we've been there.
Okay.
Is that the marina?
No, the marina just sold for the first time, which super excited. Just met those guys, super kind. Was not wanting to like them, but I really do.
Yeah. Okay. Is their heart's in the right place? And
It feels like it. I met them for the first time. It feels like it. So I'm really excited about them. Like again, if we can just get this energy going again of people that want to come and live in Harrison, not invest in Harrison. Like you can invest, but move there and set up your family there. You know, don't go live somewhere else and then come and buy a business in Harrison and then shut it down because I'm going to be the bad guy. So the guy that bought the marina, I emailed him twice. I'm like, hey, just FYI, because that's my personality.
Yeah.
And they don't like it, but they came into the restaurant because it was a nice email.
Yeah.
There were 2 nice emails. We had a great conversation, but I'm so protective because I can see what it can be and I know what it needs. And we just need people that want to live there all year round because you can build a beautiful life. My kids, I have 2 kids. My brother has 2 kids. It's an amazing, magical place.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like, hey, we're going to go down there and get crazy rich. It's going to be like, I'm going to make a really good life with my family.
A lot of when you look back at small towns like that, it wasn't that you had a bunch of rich people, right? Like that is the heart of small business and everything else. It's not a bunch of rich people. It's not a bunch of people that are up here and down there. But when you bring in all this Walmart, Costco, all these other things, it actually, once again, I talk about money leaving the community. It actually takes money away from the people that live in the community. And then you end up with a lot of low income. You end up with people that cannot pay their bills. You end up with rentals. And you end up with a huge distribution of wealth. And so nobody was ever meant to be rich in these small towns, right? If you are going to Harrison to try to get rich, that's not the thing. But if you want to participate in a tribe and be part of something, then that's really what you're looking for.
Right, 100%. And it's like, so Jim and Jan, so they had One Shot Charlie's, and Jan's a super talented baker. She can cook. She's amazing. So then when they sold us One Shots, they still needed an income. So she had this little cute little coffee shop called the Tin Cup, and she made amazing quiche. I mean, there was a conversation, there was a meeting when she was getting ready to close that said, "What are we gonna do about the quiche? The quiche." This guy from New York. I got amazing quiche. I bought the recipe. We got it.
You need to get this guy to make you pretzel bites.
Oh,
His
really?
sourdough pretzel bites,
They're
and then
pretty damn
sell
good.
those out of there.
Here,
Because
I
I'm
don't have
telling
time
you,
for that. No.
Okay, well, then I'll buy
he
the
brought
recipe.
those
I'll buy the
over.
recipe.
I had
It's
about
easy.
900 carbs that evening. I mean,
They're
it's just
dangerous.
stupid.
They're dangerous.
They're amazing.
But so hold on really quick. So that one coffee shop, right?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a coffee shop open. There was the bicycle shop that would serve you like a cup of coffee, but there wasn't a coffee shop. So Jim and Jan had that coffee shop. So again, when we looked at the business model, she wasn't making money, but she owned the building and they lived upstairs. So it was just kind of, a little bit extra. So then when we bought the building, we put that second coffee shop in. Well, in the meantime, the bicycle shop was purchased and they actually expanded it to a bigger coffee shop. So like, okay, hey, we don't need the second coffee shop. It's not going to make it. We don't have enough room for 2 coffee shops. So we just were like, One Shots is our bread and butter. Let's see what we can do. Maybe rent that one out to somebody else. A third coffee shop or a second coffee shop tried to come in last summer. They didn't do well because again, like those ones that are like, this is where we go. In small towns, you're not looking where the cool kids go. You're like, hey, what's the local spot? What's owned by the locals?
Right.
And those are the people that keep Harrison alive. It's not I love Coeur d'Alene, but it's the people that have been. Again, I lived in Coeur d'Alene since 1997, and bounced back only 3 or 4 years. But when I came back in 2009, I had never been to Harrison until I came down with my
Oh, wow.
husband.
Yeah.
I'd never been there. So a lot of people that have been to Coeur d'Alene have been like, "Where's Harrison?" I'm like, "It's the only other town on Lake Coeur d'Alene besides Coeur d'Alene." So there's just people are looking for a different experience, and they're looking for local owners that are trying. They like that story.
I think we get people all the time that are reaching out that are like looking for that slower lifestyle coming from somewhere else, sometimes with kids. Yeah. Admittedly, I had not been putting that on people's radar, if they ask about it, of course, but like, you opened my eyes to that.
Yes.
So that's cool. And I will push it out. And I'd actually love to take people down there to show properties because then I'm going to come in and see you. And that's
Yeah.
cool. There's local connections. Someone can come in and meet a happy face and talk to somebody that lives there. And I think
Depends
that's
on the
huge
day if I'm
value.
happy.
You'll turn it on if you have
That's
to.
okay.
I know you can turn it on if you have to. Smile. But that's huge value. So you definitely opened my eyes on it. And I'm sure, the more we talk about it, hopefully we'll start driving some people that way and maybe save the town.
Yeah.
Right. And again, so that you just have this, it's going to keep going no matter what. But it's people that really are passionate about it. We're going to leave because you have these peaks and then these valleys.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're constantly trying to find people and then trying to train people, and then you're getting rid of your staff.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't run a business that way. Like you can't run a family that way. You can't run a life that
Right.
way. And it's like you have these people that are really passionate about wanting to move to Harrison, and then you get there, and after 10 years, you're like, there is a point where you're like, what do I do? Like, do I really try and fight to build this community, or do I just like all the different sayings, right? Do I keep trying to fight this, or do I just get out of the way?
Right.
But I feel like, again, God put me in Harrison for a reason. I'm ornery. I'm a hard worker. I know this business inside and out, and I just feel like this is my last, let's go, you guys. Like, who's coming to Harrison? Who wants to build a community? Who wants to own a business all year around and that wants to make their life and living in Harrison? That's who we're looking for.
That's super cool.
Yeah. That was a great final statement.
Well, and if you don't know, too, Harrison, really, really cool. I've taken a boat down there before.
Where'd you go when you were in Harrison if you didn't come to
I
One
don't
Shots?
even know. I follow my wife around, and she's like, oh. But we came down there. We ate somewhere and might have eaten there. I have no idea.
What's the boat ride time?
The boat ride? Well, when I'm driving,
Dave drives fast.
it's about 25 minutes. It's typically about 30 to 45 minutes to get down there. And it's on the east side of the lake, right where, Coeur d'Alene River comes in. Really neat place to go stop for the day, get lunch.
Cool history,
Get
like
food,
old buildings.
And then we have a marina. So we have a cool little beach. So you guys, Saturdays are already packed. So if you're going to try and come on a Saturday, don't. We need business on Fridays. So pretty much Sunday mornings are always busy too because everyone's like, getting that last little pop before they're going back to work or whatever. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's amazing because the town is quiet and you have all of Lake Coeur d'Alene to yourself. Even in the summertime,
Yep.
If you can figure out, be like, you know what, I'm gonna take 2 days off on the weekday. So in the park on Saturdays, we have music in the park, which is really fun. It's just hard because the problem that you have with Harrison is that there's only a certain amount of parking spots, right? So we're really limited on parking, boat parking, and also street parking. But boat parking, you can call Kootenai County. They are in charge of our docks. You can rent a slip for the day. The marina, I don't know if they're going to keep all of their slips, or if they're going to keep any of them like for rotating.
Yeah.
Which if I own the marina, I would keep like 2 or 3 for patrons to be able to come in and out of and rotate. But the weekdays, you have the trails of the Coeur d'Alene. Come get ice cream. There's a bunch of little cool shops.
Dude, that's the only time. If I'm being honest, if you're coming up to Coeur d'Alene, that is the time to be on the lake. It's Monday through Friday. Not even Friday. Monday through Thursday. We hardly ever go out on the lake on the weekends. We always push it to a weekday. Crowded. There's just too many people out there on the weekends.
You know what's really sad? Since I've been here now longer than I haven't, I've only been on that lake a handful of times because I've been in the restaurant. I've been
just
in the
working all the time.
I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. And
Let's go.
Right?
You got to take a break too.
I know. But again, so you're short staffed. So this is my year to be like, okay, can I do this?
Right.
And I think I can. I've spent the last 6 months, doing a lot of different things, and it might still be a little bit bumpy because this is my first year on my own. Like being like, okay, here's how we're gonna do things. But already the response with people coming in and wanting to work and things like that is already a million times better. And I think it's because I'm trying to do a little bit more of this. Like instead of working in my business, I'm trying to work on my business. And that's what the last 6 months is.
We will help spread the word. I don't think you're working on your business. I think you're actually working on a community as opposed to that, right?
Because let's be honest, like my town will thrive with more people in it.
Yeah.
It's going to be easier for me to run my business if I have more people in it. So it's a double-edged sword, and I'm not going to sit there and try and deny it, but there's just my kids to have people to play with, the schools, all those different things. It's like there's this great community, and I know that by building my community, I can build my restaurant.
Yeah.
So it is a double, but yeah.
I love it, and I genuinely hope we can help in some way because like Dave said, we're super passionate about small business and we're super passionate about community. That's like the number one driving factor in our lives. Yep. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on.
Whitney Hruza.
Whit.
If you're in the know, go see her at One Shot Charlie's. They're officially open for the season. That's fantastic.
So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday right now.
Okay.
And then as we get more staff, we'll then add a Thursday, and then we'll add a Monday. So just social media are...
Ooh, I don't think I follow you. I'm going to follow you now. On Insta? Are you on the Instagram?
I'm getting there.
Social, Facebook?
Facebook is super easy for me, and I thought they're connected, and right now they're not connected. So I've been doing all these annoying videos for the algorithm, like just posting constantly and just saying like goofy.
You need to get on the gram.
I know. Well, we are there. I just thought like I can post easier. I know more about Facebook, so I thought they were connected, and right now they're not connected.
So if you post on Instagram, then it will share it to Facebook.
But not vice versa?
No.
I know. Annoying.
It's stupid. Yeah, this is a world we dabble in constantly. So on social media, One Shot Charlie's.
One Shot Charlie's.
Easy to find.
Yep.
we'll
Whitney,
post
thank you.
a link for it too.
Yeah, we will. You guys have a website?
We got a website.
We'll put that on the show notes too, so that it'll be
Perfect.
easy to find. And we will definitely come down and see you because I think that'd be fun. We can do a little some business spotlight when we come in and take some shots or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Remember, we don't get crazy. We don't get the staff.
No, and we don't
Dude, I'm like the
do
most
reservations.
mellow.
Yeah, we don't drink that much.
Yeah.
Do reservations because again, like once you start taking reservations, like it's kind of like it's a little bit like Costco when you go and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, but then it's so much fun.
Yeah,
So
we'll be there.
Yeah, we're definitely coming. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Whitney.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.